No, no, you can't make me do it. You can't make me watch it. You decided to do this. This was your decision. Fantastic.
That's how you get ants.
Fantastic Four, or Fant-four-stic, as the stylized graphic would indicate, is a story of wasted potential. Announced in 2009, Josh Trank was hired to direct in 2012 after finding huge success with his found-footage superhero movie Chronicle. Once Trank was signed on, he decided he should be the writer too and wrote his own script. The original script, written by Jeremy Slater, featured Galactus, but alas, here we are again with the giant purple planet eater getting shoved to the back burner. Slater wanted to use the Avengers as a template. You know, the wildly successful Marvel property that was 5 films in the making and highly anticipated and was a huge box office smash and solidified Marvel's box office dominance for practically a decade. That Avengers. But alas, Josh Trank hated all of Slater's ideas. He liked the tone of Batman Begins, and this should be an indicator as to where all this is going. The script bounced from writer to writer, concept to concept, and you know what they say about Hollywood. The more writers, the better. No one says that. Today we try to find anything nice to say about Fant-four-stic. There isn't really anything good to say about this movie. Michael B. Jordan was absolutely wasted in this role. He wasn't given much screen time and seemingly no leniency to really run with the role. Miles Teller has almost had as many second chances in Hollywood as Armie Hammer, and I feel like that's saying something. I don't know that I've ever seen Kate Mara play anything other than what equates to a moody teenager, so throw them all together and add the grim dark tone of all the DC movies, and you have this. It's like every decision they made was the wrong one. No idea, interesting or not, is held on to long enough to make any sort of impact. The movie follows the Baxter Institute's attempts to create a portal device that travels to another dimension. They keep saying things like, to save our world, but there's no actual mention of a threat to our world. Even Doom says, I'm going to destroy your world. Humans had their chance. Oh, so now we have an actual threat, but Doom only became a threat by being stuck in the alternate dimension for a year and figuring that if he ever got a chance to come back, he would wipe out humanity. Why? Because that's what villains do.
Tonight at 11.
Doom!
But the Doom threat didn't exist without first going to the alternate dimension, so it can't be the reason you went there in the first place. Was it maybe that a planet-eating cosmic entity was coming to destroy the planet that made you need to look for alternates, but he ended up on the cutting room floor? Humans had their chance at what? What is happening in the world that's so bad we need an alternate dimension to fix it? Is it climate change? Is global warming? Is it always global warming? Could be. Yeah. So to create a teleportation device, Franklin Storm recruits Reed Richards from a high school science fair. His adopted daughter Sue is also helping, and so is Victor Von Doom, who came up with the same idea that Reed had when he was a kid. Doom has devoted 10 years to this project. Okay, I'm getting into the weeds here. Every member of the Four and Doom are all sort of indefinite ages, and that makes their relationships kind of like borderline inappropriate or not. I don't even know if we're dealing with kids or adults here. We meet Johnny during a street race where he crashes his car. Again, Human Torch, as played by Michael B. Jordan, is probably the best part of this movie, and most of that time is squandered. The effects are mostly okay. Human Torch on fire looks good. The Thing looks pretty cool in most situations. We are told that the Thing is working for the military with a mission success rate of 100% and 43 confirmed kills, but all we have to show for it is field footage playing on monitors in the background. Would have been cool to follow him on one of these missions. In fact, we probably were supposed to follow him on one of these missions if you believe this scene from the trailer.
How long until he's in?
2 minutes. Might be a little less.
No, though. See, that would have been a good choice. And remember, every decision in this movie was the wrong one. This scene isn't in the movie. I don't even know where this would fit in the movie. What we do get is an origin story for the phrase, it's clobbering time. Yes, it comes from Ben Grimm's abusive older brother. Because heaven forbid anyone in this film have any sort of joy in their life. But alas, That turns into more wasted potential, as Ben and Reed being friends as children is only explored insofar as it allows Reed to create his teleportation device instead of showing how two poor kids from abusive households, one a genius and one the muscle, found solace in their friendship that would drive them to greater sacrifices later on. But no, this is not something this movie wants to explore. They'll just put a little hint of it here and expect you, the viewer, to do all the legwork in giving these characters the backstory they deserve. There's a scene where it kind of looks like Johnny is afraid of heights, which would have been really funny to bring in later, considering he flies when he gets his flame powers. But no, we don't get to explore that at all. We keep getting told how smart the characters are, but there's nothing there to prove it.
You are the dumbest smart person I have ever met in my life.
In the 2005 Fantastic Four, they use science to defeat Doom. In this one, they don't really come up with a smart way to do it. They just punch him harder. Reed Richards is able to control his stretching abilities so well that he can change the shape of his face to look like someone else. Cool. Interesting. Let's explore more of...
And it's gone.
What?
Now he can't control anything, and it's an absolute struggle just to keep his limbs in order. Okay. The action scenes are few and far between, but they are handled pretty well. Reed Richards' stretching ability comes off as more creepy than awesome, but that seems like it was intentional. Like they wanted to build out some horror elements in this movie. There's also an image of the Human Torch that makes him look like he's a burnt out husk of a body to add to that horror part. When Sue first goes invisible, you see her skull and viscera. When Doom comes back from a year in the other dimension without food or water or anything, but it kept him alive. Just trust me, bro. He starts exploding people's heads.
Your head will explode.
Seriously, was this supposed to be a horror movie? If it is, make the choice and go with it. But again, this was just another idea that seems like it was aborted halfway through. If it was supposed to be a grotesque body horror movie, commit. It might not have been the best choice, but it would have been a strong one. Then again, we need to aim for a PG-13 rating. With the abilities the four have, the government wants to go to the other dimension and create super soldiers. Sure. Despite the fact that they don't really know how the four got their abilities. One's a fugitive, one is a rock monster, and two of them can't control their abilities. Oh, and the fifth guy just presumably died getting eaten in green energy goo. I guess it makes sense to just start sending randos into another dimension because they come back with superhero abilities. All right, I'm supposed to be finding nice things to say. Here's the thing. No, not that thing. Not that thing either. Look, the real problem with this movie is that it has little to no second act. A story, especially one told in a movie, even more especially one that's told in the superhero genre, consists of 3 acts. The first act typically introduces you to the characters. There's some big incident and they end up with their powers. For example, we learn who Tony Stark is in the first act and he gets kidnapped by terrorists. He makes the decision to build a suit to escape. The big incident would be him escaping the cave. It would be, in Save the Cat parlance, the break into Act 2. So in Act 2, we get fun stuff like Tony making a new suit, trying it out, upgrading, failing, succeeding, changing, trying not to be discovered. It's not the only place to do it, but the second act in the story is where you get to play around with your concepts, stretch out your ideas, and let them run a little bit wild. Meanwhile, in the background of Act 2, an ominous threat is growing. There are hints of it here and there, or sometimes it's an outright reveal. In Act 2, you have time to set up a bunch of things like, say, an icing problem at high altitudes that will pay off later in the third act. In Fant-four-stic, they don't have their powers until we're already 53 minutes into the movie. That's more than halfway. That's not where we should be in the story. And before you say every story is different, no, it's really not. The best writers, the best directors, the best storytellers can play with our expectations, but if you divert so far from the norm, it becomes nonsensical. You have something that is universally panned. As people, we have ingested stories since childhood. We know the structures. You know how things are supposed to go. When those expectations are subverted, new tropes are constructed. Deleting it the entire middle of a movie is not a subversion. A second act is needed not just for fun and games, but to explore the emotional dynamic between characters, to build build a tension that will need to be resolved by the end. The Tony Stark from the first act is not the same Tony Stark who exists now. Without the events in the middle, we don't have context for his change of character. The journey is changing him. Without that tension, without building on relationships, there's no reason to care whether the team comes together or not. Fant-four-stic should be studied in film schools as what not to do in a movie. There is so much drama surrounding this film. Josh Trank had a public meltdown, including apparently causing hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages to the home the studio was renting for him during filming. He disavowed the movie on what was then Twitter. He removed it from his filmography on Instagram. He blames the studio and claims there's a better movie in his head than what ended up on screen, but I don't really see anything that supports that. It's possible that he wasn't a great hire for this project. The disaster that was 2015's Fantastic Four leads to now, where Marvel is once again in charge of Marvel's first family. It's been 10 years since we've seen Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and the Thing on screen. Well, not including Deadpool and Wolverine. Okay, a Human Torch wasn't Deadpool and Wolverine, but Deadpool and Wolverine was less of a Marvel movie and more of an homage to 20th Century Fox's contributions to keeping the franchise alive in the early 2000s as they were battling bankruptcy, I guess. If you really want to see something neat, go and look at the teaser and the trailer. Almost half of the scenes from both of the trailers ended up somewhere on the cutting room floor, so maybe there was a better movie in there somewhere, but it's not this. I can't possibly imagine that Fant-four-stic is anyone's favorite movie, and if it is yours, I apologize for finding so few nice things to say about it. It's not my job to convince you not to like it. Maybe you can let me know in the comments what you like about it, why you own it on Blu-ray, why you keep coming back to it. All that to say, don't travel to alternate dimensions and never be ashamed to like what you like. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Do whatever the equivalent of that is on Rumble. If you have a movie about which you would like me to find anything nice to say, drop it in the comments. I need to wait until I can see what I actually wrote. Well, every story is different. It's always global warming.